the launch of a brand new ultra inexpensive, ultra entry level phone called Jio Bharat. This phone, Jio Bharat, costs just about 999 rupees. And what is it expected to do? Well, in India, more than 250 million people are still using 2G services. If you believe it or not, yes, even as we are eagerly awaiting 5G services to hit Indian market and India to be ready for 6G as well, 250 million Indians still use 2G. To upgrade those 250 million Indians from 2G to 4G on a platform, that is the reason why you have the Jio Bharat phone being launched. Kartik Malhotra knows all about it. Kartik, talk to us. This, ultra low-cost phone is something that, we keep hearing about, But this has a very specific purpose. It's not meant for people like you and me who are, like complaining that 5G is yet to arrive on our phones. This is meant for so many of those Indians who need internet access on their mobile phones, who are stuck with 2G. And this sort of catapults them into the 4G league.
So it just reminds me of A Few Good Men. When I talk about Mukesh Ambani, Akash Ambani, the whole Jio environment out there, the hits just keep on coming. There is nothing stopping the hits from Reliance Jio. And remember, Reliance Jio offered its first feature phone targeting then the 500 million strong community, which has since reduced to 250 million, with a 1500 rupee phone in 2017. In 2019, it offered another smartphone, a low-cost entry-level smartphone, not a feature phone, mind you, in partnership with Google.
Yeah.
And 2023, we are talking about this duopoly in the Indian telecom market, where Jio and Airtel have been pretty much neck to neck, with no signs of Vodafone ever likely to recover. And here we are. There is Mukesh Ambani and the Jio clan out there to bleed the hell out of Airtel. And look at the entry-level plans they've come out with. Of course, 999 is a beautiful, numerical figure that it's a sub-1,000 rupee feature phone.
Exactly.
So 999, I mean, it's a magic number, right?
Yeah.
But look at the fine print. 123 rupees a month for unlimited calling and 14 GB of 4G data, not 2G. You said it absolutely right, that, it's as Akash Ambani said in the conference yesterday, that this is a drive to make Bharat 2G Mukt, free of 2G, right? Adopt higher speeds, 4G phones, 14 GB data for a month, as compared to Airtel's entry-level plan, priced at 199 versus 123 in this case, Airtel offering 2 GB with unlimited calls, and Reliance Jio offering 7 times more at 14 GB.
Wow.
Which rural Indian is not going to take up that offer?
Right.
And I think the strategy is very clearly laid out. Jio is there to monopolize this market. Airtel has been crying to increase rates, increase ARPU, average revenue per user, for the last few years. And Jio is not just giving it a chance to raise rates, rather bleeding it out by cutting its own rates, making sure that Airtel either follows suit or ships out of the Indian market.
Right. As we talk about the phone, which is the hardware, we have the phone on you as a 999 rupee phone. But that phone has to be supported by all the right software, because like we use iPhones, we know how important the software and the platform is along with the hardware that you get. And guess what's happening with the Jio Bharat? It's actually a Jio Bharat platform that is UPI enabled. It's a Jio Bharat OS.
Jio Bharat OS.
The Jio Bharat OS, like iOS is Apple's operating system. Jio Bharat OS is the operating system for these phones. It's a new platform. It comes UPI enabled, and I thought that's a very important feature.
Absolutely right. So I think that's the difference between, let's say, a smartphone and a feature phone. A smartphone gives you access to practically every app out there. A feature phone gives you access to basic applications out there. And digital payments is now thankfully considered a basic feature required, not an it's an expected feature. It's not an augmented feature. You require digital payments to go through. And
from the moment you switch on the phone.
From the moment you switch on your phone. And there you have it. You're talking about digitization. You're talking about cheap data. You're talking about pretty much unlimited data. 14 GB is as unlimited as it gets.
Yep.
And add to that Jio Pay, which again is a direct competition to a Google Pay or a Bharat Pay or a Bheem. It's a UPI enabled platform. which is preloaded onto these feature phones, which are called Jio Bharat V2 version 2.
Yes.
And these are preloaded features available on this beautiful feature phone. And comes with a battery size of about 1000 mAh. Not great, nothing really to write home about. But the fact that it's a small screen, 1.77-inch TFT screen, not a large 5.5-inch screen, so the battery consumption is not going to be very significant. So a 1000 mAh battery with a 1.77 TFT screen and enabled with the Bharat OS, which incidentally is also likely to be used by other Indian manufacturers, including Carbon. And that is the only brand that got named in the conference yesterday. But Carbon, of course, is one of the brands which is going to ditch the Google Android operating system and maybe hop on to this Bharat operating system. And yeah, I mean, you know, a few days back we were talking about these entry-level smartphones making a comeback into the Indian markets, Micromax, Carbon, etc., being all of them. I think it's a great option to also try and challenge the monopolies or the duopolies of operating systems with iOS and Android pretty much catering to the entire smartphone bucket out there.
Well. So this is challenging many duopolies.
Absolutely.
One is challenging the telecom duopoly.
Well, yeah, I mean,
it's not a duopoly.
Moving into a monopoly very clearly now.
Right, and also challenge the duopolies of the operating system as well. Kartik, you know, we'll have to take this apart a little bit more in the sense that we always talk about, you know, 5G, you know, upgrading services, newer phones. Can iPhones become cheaper? Can, you know, like, you know, those are the discussions that are normally had. Here we have a 999 rupee, a sub 1000 rupee phone. And you know, how many of us did at least even knew clearly that so much of India, so much of Bharat still works on 2G, and the kind of socio-economic revolution that something like this can bring. You know, India, we're talking about Make in India. This is a made in India operating system, made in India phone, and made in India pricing. This kind of pricing, I'm sure, doesn't exist anywhere else in the world. And this, you know, can lead to, when these 2G customers become 4G customers, it means it can lead to better education, better mobility, better economic mobility for huge sections of Bharat.
Absolutely right, Krishna. Except that a feature phone would be able to let you do only this much, not beyond. And the fact that these are going to run only on the Jio network. So it's not that you can buy the 999 rupee phone and you can insert an Airtel SIM into it or a Vodafone SIM into it and use it.
Fair enough.
But I think it will definitely enable tethering of internet. You have 14 GB 4G internet available on a feature phone. If you can tether it onto a low-cost laptop, then all the things that you spoke about, the education, the quality of life, the quality of entertainment, all of that could be taken a few notches higher. But we'll have to wait and watch whether these feature phones will allow tethering of internet or not. And if that happens, of course, it's a clear-cut game changer. Wow. And I don't mind opting for one in any case because, you know, if you get 4G speeds and if you're getting 14 GB at 123 rupees, I'd rather just have you know, my phone tethering internet and calling off the Jio phone.
Right, and even take a top-up plan, even that wouldn't cost as much.
Correct. You know, double it up. Hey, what are we talking about? Let's double it up.
Right. You know, also I want to ask, doesn't this remind you of the first Reliance phone that was launched, you know, with the first ever phone, if you remember, I'm talking, you know, 18 years ago. You know, when
the WLL, wireless loop mobile phones, the small grey colored, silver
with a blue color screen.
With a blue screen and a little antenna.
Yes,
course,
yes.
You know, no, that's what I think. When the Reliance group had split between the two brothers, Mukesh Ambani and Anil Ambani then, I think well ahead of his time, had taken the telecom business. And it could have been a game changer had Anil Ambani and his advisors and the technical staff that accompanied him on the telecom journey, had they not opted for WLL as a technology. It could have been a game changer 18 years back, as you mentioned. And look at this, a good 10 years later, 10, 12, 13 years later, older brother Mukesh Ambani says data is the new oil. Pretty much complements his existing oil refinery business in equal measure with Reliance Jio and changes the game forever. So it's all about timing, it's all about choosing the right telecom strategy or the right business strategy at the right time. And I believe this cannot happen without divine intervention. So Mukesh Ambani with Jio had his divine intervention through business strategy cut out right through. And younger brother Anil Ambani, an early mover in the telecom business, has pretty much gone bankrupt.
Right. as we continue discussing Reliance, remember when Reliance got into the retail business?
Yeah.
And what it did to the retail business after Reliance got into it, and see what it's doing in telecom business. The only difference is that the telecom business evolves faster than Reliance's own moves, I think. So to the point that even sometimes Reliance has to catch up. And in a sense, Jio Bharat is a fantastic way of catching up, because in the telecom business, we always talk about catching up to the most high-value consumers.
Yeah.
This is another way of compensating for it.
But I think that is the Reliance strategy.
Yeah.
Produce something for the masses.
Yeah.
The gumption, the kind of
economies of scale.
Economies of scale, and the gumption to not fear large-scale investments if they can impact the last mile and impact everybody across the board, as opposed to trying to be very niche and very calculated in going after a very specific small target group and trying to extract high value from them. Because that is where competition is easy to come and strike. But with the kind of investments you make for masses, it's very difficult to attract competition to come and hamper your laid out business strategies. And the other day when, about 2 weeks back, when Prime Minister Modi was in the US and had met Elon Musk, we were talking about Starlink coming to India. And if you remember, I mentioned then that Starlink is not going to have it easy. Satellite-driven internet connection for rural India in a market that has Reliance Jio omnipresent. There is no way Elon Musk or any other competitor within India or outside can come and eat away Reliance piece of cake.
My only question in this is that Jio Bharat goes to the 2G consumers of India and makes them 4G consumers.
Yeah.
Does Starlink goes to the zero consumer who consumes zero internet, has no access to internet, and takes them to even a 2G?
But who's going to provide the mobile phone to them?
Jio.
Jio works only on the Jio network.
I'm joking. So you need a hardware and a software solution for remote rural areas.
Absolutely.
Whereas what you're talking about, Jio Bharat, is regular rural areas which are still struggling with 2G connectivity, which when upgraded to 4G connectivity, you never know the kind of dividends, socio-economic dividends it will pay off eventually.
Absolutely right. Absolutely. And I think Starlink, or anybody for that matter, no matter what technology of internet you use and what mode of distribution you use, satellite or fiber optics or wireless or whatever, can you offer 14 GB in 2023 at 123 rupees? I think that puts a very definitive period to the discussion that Reliance is there to bleed out anybody else who's out there. And I think Sunil Bharti Mittal would be biting his nails today. It's going to be really difficult for him to come to terms with the fact that he may have to eventually cut down his existing financially crunched business model of Bharti Airtel by a 30% to reduce entry-level packs from 175 rupees, 199 rupees to about 123 rupees. And that's going to be a very, very difficult task. And we are talking at a time when Vodafone, with nobody lesser than Kumar Mangalam Birla himself spearheading the new rounds of investments to keep Vodafone afloat and reconquer a lot of its lost territory. And at a time like this, here comes a blow. The blows just keep on coming. Here it comes with 123 rupees for unlimited calls on a 999 rupee priced phone, offering 14 GB of data in a month. Who can beat that?
Very, very difficult to beat. I want to know, I'm curious to know what it will do to telecom pricing in this country going forward. Kartik, we talk about, iPhones and iPhones' own penetration in India and how that will depend upon how when we move to the model like it exists in the West. So you buy a device plus a connection.
Yeah.
And you sort of pay for it over the course of a year like a phone bill.
That's right.
Right. That's what we're moving towards as far as the expensive, iPhones and Samsung phones are concerned.
True.
And even as that continues, you have this happening. Do you think that all of this will sort of reframe telecom pricing in India going forward?
Telecom pricing, most definitely, yes. Hardware pricing, perhaps not.
Okay.
So I doubt, an iOS, Apple, or let's say, a Samsung or any of the OnePluses, the brands which are catering to the more affluent, more aspirational section of society, they would not be in a bid to compete with a Reliance feature phone ever. I doubt that moment will ever come that, you have Tim Cook coming to India and saying, hey, I've got an Apple iPhone Bharat, which is selling for under 10,000 rupees.
No, fair enough. So, but my question is basically this. You have 4G remains same whether you have an iPhone or you have a Jio Bharat.
That's right.
Right?
That's right.
So
that's
that
right.
being the case, so the hardware pricing will not change because that's really different between manufacturers. But the cost of the connection, the cost of a call, the cost of every GB of data.
Of course. It will be driven down. There's no doubt. Except I think not immediately for the non-feature phone market, the upper echelon of society, as we should not call it, but end up doing so. I think the price wars are not going to be as rabid, as fierce for the post-paid section of society, which also gets unlimited data or larger volumes of data packs. Where a 50 rupee, 100 rupee difference in a monthly bill is not going to mean porting your number to another service provider. But I think for the entry-level phones, for the feature phones, for rural markets, the 250 million population, these price wars are going to be so fierce that I believe Airtel is going to be driven out of that market.
Well, clear calls coming in. I'm wondering how the Airtel stock is doing for the day, but
let me try and check that out.
Let's quickly check that out, because the news of Jio Bharat is the biggest for the day, ladies and gentlemen. Bear in mind that this is what is going to be on everybody's lips for the day, and here we are giving you the lowdown on it. And Kartik, they're making it very clear that this is not good news for a telecom player like Airtel, which already is offering 199 rupees per month plan, and it might be forced to even cut that down, even as it's looking to increase rates. Bear in mind, telecom companies in India are going through a huge turmoil in terms of a cash crisis, in terms of cash flow issues that they're still dealing with. So talk to us, Kartik, where is the Airtel stock?
Airtel stock is holding up fine, Krishna. It's pretty much flattish. I think the announcement for the Jio smartphone came after the markets had closed yesterday, and Airtel closed at 876. It opened with a gap down at 861, 5 rupees lower, but it's picked up a little bit of momentum again, presently at about 864 rupees.
All right.
So not much dent on Airtel stock.
Maybe the overall buoyancy in the optimism in the markets is holding up the Airtel stock up as well. We'll keep a track of this story. Jio Bharat, ladies and gentlemen, we will be keeping a track of how well Jio Bharat does and getting you those updates as well.